Hello, wonderful people. Have you been dealing with these comparative thoughts? Just comparing and contrasting yourself with everybody around you. You never feel good enough? Well, I'm here to help. And hi, if you're new here, I'm Cahir. I'm here to take you one step closer to self-love. Now, I want to just state, we're on this journey together, guys. And I'm not gonna... I've been stating more recently in my videos, I don't want to claim that I'm some guru that I found enlightenment. I'm just a person that, has, I feel, has very transformed their inner dialogue. It's something I struggled with for years. And one of the biggest things was a comparison. All right, and I have some notes here. So this is going to be something different than my, podcast videos. I still want to post, 3 days a week. This makes it easier. This is the kind of old school way I used to do, actually, like when I would record the audio. Anyway. All right, so I want to start with all comparison is an ego device. All right, an ego, Dr. Wayne Dyer shared, this is edging God out, It's separating from all that is and believing in specialness. So the Course in Miracles teaches us. Well, let's also just go to the fundamentals here, What Einstein said, if you judge a fish how well it climbs a tree, it's always going to feel stupid, right? It's simple stuff, but do we actually apply it in our own life, Like for me, I think in my family, let's say we were a bunch of lions, at least, and I was an elephant, Elephants are good at elephant things. Lions are good at lion things, you know what I mean? But they're like, why aren't you a lion? Why aren't you a lion? Basically summing that up, And, the whole system is designed to have us be in a constant state of comparison. Why I say the system, I'm talking about, well, the school system, also, even if your job, right, or someone with money, there's someone making more money, lower the money, and it's just all this media, everything around us is oh, this person's good, this person's bad, compare, contrast, and it's gone so haywire of social media. I saw this video, this guy was talking about a similar thing, and, we have to think about where we can come from as, a human species. We would only compare ourselves with people around, in our tribe, in our village, and that'd be enough. But now we're surrounded by, millions of people on social media. We can compare, contrast everyone's journey to ours and feel less. And it was very disempowering, right? So that's why I'm making this video to talk about it. Because it reminds me of the days, it's because this is all from childhood, guys. Think about it. The school system, I told you guys, growing up in America, we had honor roll and high honor roll. Ooh, you don't even go on the honor roll. There's a higher step. And it's so funny, I also in high school it had honors. There's normal, just for example, there's biology. Then there's honors biology, and there's AP biology. So you could get college credits or whatever. Oh my gosh. Some of the smartest person I knew, Yusuf, my best friend at the time, and he wasn't in any AP classes, but but he's super smart. I was in AP classes, and I always felt I was dumber than him, But see, it's never enough, You gotta be, Also, I touched upon this, I was comparing myself when I was in marching band. I was the worst tuba player, for good reason, because I fucking hated it. I'm laughing now, but I subjected myself to just torture, not having fun, playing this heavy ass instrument, That's why I want to talk about it, so at least I use it for good. Oh my gosh, But I said I'm the worst tuba player. Oh. I'm joking now, but back then I was not joking. I really felt I'm the worst fucking tuba player. I should be ashamed of myself because I'm bad at an instrument I don't care about. Crazy, man. Crazy. but just, reminding, this is a reminder for me as much as for you guys. There's only your path, right? That's what Dr. K is sharing with us, that like, we all have our own unique circumstances, our unique traumas. Yes, trauma is a thing. I know it's thrown around, but as you see, like if my channel, if you're familiar with it, I talk about childhood trauma because it deeply affected me, and to deny it, I think it would be a huge disservice to myself and to others to say, oh yeah, like everything was hunky-dory, you know? Um, and we all have our own like unique template for life. And I know the school system tries to like, and all this tries to box you in into like, oh no, you're this certain way, you're this certain, you're a blue, you're yellow. It doesn't work that way, man. And I think it's always good to acknowledge, your path, right? Only compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That's helped me so much, tremendously. Just being 1% better. That's why I say, one step closer to self-love, right? Because it's your journey, right? Your journey to self-love. And and some people, they won't see the difference. I'm going to share this, like I said with CPTSD and stuff. Also, I was always like socially anxious, ever since I could remember. I'm just surmising is because if you're not in a safe environment at home, you probably don't feel safe around others, so, I had, like I said, I had friends, but in my early 20s when I moved to Poland, and I really struggled very deeply with developing any relationships. So I was basically a hermit for a bit. And, like my social skills did like take a drop. And I remember it got so bad, like when I was in my first improv group, X-Prov, I would have practice days where I would say maybe 2 sentences. Really? Also, that was like a toxic environment too, but still, but then when I started my own group, I started working on myself more intensely. And I felt already a difference, like, from being a follower and just being in the background of an improv group to starting your own and leading the practices. I think that's a huge, tremendous step, But I remember telling this to our castmates, let's say Varkas, I'll find out what his username is, but Varkas, and I was like, guys, I was so closed off, but now I feel like more open. And then he's like, "This is you open?" Just like shitting on my growth. Well, of course, he wasn't there, but I was there. I knew my growth. That's just it. Yeah, every step forward, is necessary, and I think it should be celebrated, right? Because if you're not going to celebrate it, who else is going to do it? I turn the page here. Okay. Like I said, I think I said this in a previous video. You are your own universe, your own journey. If you think about it this way, and I see like in my own physical transformation, when I was heavier than I wanted to be, and I was stuck at like 83 kilograms. And I remember my fitness journey, like I would go to the gym and stuff, but I would be sporadic because I didn't acknowledge to myself, hey, it's very stimulating going to the city, being surrounded by people you don't know. Also comparison, right? Feeling people are watching me. It wasn't a conducive environment for me. Me watch my live streams, I work out at home, and it's something I can do consistently. It's fun, and I get to, work on my channel at the same time. So it works for me, But when I was comparing myself, like, oh, like this person did it this way, maybe it'll work for me. It's, okay, you gotta find your own way, right? And just showing how like sick this comparison game is, I didn't know about this, but like Michael Jackson was compared to Prince during his heyday, And I'm like, oh, it's like Michael versus Prince. I'm like, Michael's Michael, Prince is Prince. You know what I mean? Like, if we look at it, we're all these works of art, which art is better? Which one is worse, right? Like under the lens of the Holy Spirit, we're all equal. That's what I said. Like, you know, we all the lamps were sparked by the same source, right? And also, just going to my own mental health journey. You know, I used to go to bed these, you know, dark thoughts, like just really feeling how shitty of a person I am. Now I don't do that anymore. I know it's like might be like a low bar, but like for me it's like night and day, you know. And I know some people maybe never had to deal with that, but I did. You know, I had to deal with like enormous self-loathing, self-beratement, you know, for years. You know, that's my story. I'm not gonna lie in here. Yeah, I was like nice and kind to myself, and I still have my, you know, I have my moments. I see where the old version of myself pops up. But I meet him with love and understanding, because I know, you know, it was a creation of my own ego, of a small boy that wanted to feel safe. You know, that's my story. You know, and your story is your story. Even I wrote down here with languages. You know, I think now you know, especially living here in Europe, like people compare and contrast, especially with English. You know, I teach English, and people are always comparing. Oh, this person speaks better. Oh, and this person's like a native speaker, but I can barely speak, even though they're like really good. You know, I have friends that are like super good in English, and they're like, no, I can barely speak. But I know, because I was the same way with Polish, which is my second language, and I would always, you know, compare to some imaginary ideal, like this parallel reality where my parents were super nice to me and taught me Polish in a nice way. Be like, oh, to super, tak świetnie mówisz. And so be like, kurwa, skup się! Which is what I got, you know? Because I was going against reality. You know, reality, what happened to me. And I think that caused me a lot of suffering, right? I used to be just a victim. Like, why didn't they teach me? Well, now I'm here in Poland. I have to learn it all by myself, and people are making fun of my accent. It's all my fault, you know. Like I should be better I should be better than where I am now, and that's, you're arguing against reality, you know. If I just accepted reality, be like, you know what? Okay, they chose not to teach me for whatever reason, but I'm gonna make this journey as enjoyable as possible. I'm gonna find the right teachers. You know, which I did eventually. It took longer than, well, than I thought, but you know, it took its time, right? Okay. What and just, yeah, accepting reality, but not with guilt, but with infinite love and compassion. I know sometimes it's hard to do that, you know, but like I said, what your case, it might be foolproof to you, but it's not God proof. You know, that's like the infinite love and compassion, man. Like what we say in Healthy Gamer, or what I learned in Healthy Gamer is, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It's not my fault that I have CPTSD. You know, it's not my fault that I was emotionally neglected, verbally abused. You know, it's not my fault. It's not my fault even like the ways I adapted to that with CPTSD. You know, my negative coping mechanisms. But I can't be like, oh man, I wish I didn't have that. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I can't change anything with that attitude, you know? Also, like with comparing traumas, you know, it's a dangerous thing. Like, oh, this person was worse than me. Oh, but this person had it way worse and they turned out fine. So what, man? So what? Honestly. Just a reminder, you know, you are art, right? In the image of the creator, you are art. You are this artwork, you know? Like I look at video games as art. One of my favorite video games, which I might make a video on, is Indigo Prophecy, or Fahrenheit as it's known in Europe. It's made by, you know, Quantic Dream, you know, David Cage. They're basically like, you know, movie games, very unique in the landscape of games we have now. And I played that game. Really, I actually replayed it recently. Yeah, in January. And I knew the story. I know it by heart. But I'm like, I made some different choices, and it was really enjoyable, you know. And some people thought it's like this weird ass. It is a weird ass game, but some people don't appreciate it. And that's okay. You know, it's it's art. You know what I mean? Some people are not going to appreciate your art. So what? No. Some people think, Mixed Nuts, my improv group is probably cringy. We make like lowbrow humor. So what? That's our thing. All right. I want to end it here, guys, with some Course in Miracles quotes. All right. What God created cannot be compared because it's whole. Right? Comparison must be an ego device, for love makes none. Right? Love makes no comparisons. Love makes no comparisons, man. Remember this. So I say these videos are just reminders, man. Get back into love. Right? Because it's our belief in specialness. This is where all the ego comes from. And what the Course in Miracles teaches us, that we're not special because we're all aspects of the Creator. I know that might seem radical, but like, you see where specialness gets you. I look at all like this Jeffrey Epstein stuff, he and his specialness, right? He believed, like I'm a billionaire, I could do whatever I want, right? Where does it lead to, guys? It leads to destruction. Right? And you can defend your specialness, but never will you hear the voice for God beside it. And so we're gonna, edge God out. We're going to argue for our specialness. Even, this is the thing, even in our self-loathing, right? Like, this is the thing, like, oh, how could God love me? I'm such a sinful being, That's also acting for specialness, right? I know I'm getting a little esoterical here. And then what's really helped me is also, you're not alone with whatever challenges you're dealing with. That's why I keep recommending, Healthy Gamer, because when I was in a group of people that also suffered from social anxiety, and they said verbatim the same thoughts and beliefs I was having, I'm like, what? I'm not alone, right? See? But when I was arguing for specialness, like, it's just Cahir's fault. Like, Cahir doesn't know how to talk to people. Cahir feels all afraid of people. Oh, there's something wrong with me. Specialness, right? But when we look at it, it's not special. Someone has had it and someone has overcome it as well. I hope you guys feel reminded. Remember, love holds no comparisons. Absolutely none. Wherever you are in this journey, accept where you are. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Let me know in the comments, and remember to subscribe if you want more healing content like this. All right, may the Holy Spirit light up your path wherever it takes you. Take care.